All right, great. Thank you very much, and welcome to the Thursday, September 21st, 2023, 6 o'clock p.m.
This conference
meeting
will
of the
now be
Auburn Zoning Board
recorded.
of Appeals. My name is Robert Tatro. I am the chair, and I am calling the meeting to order.
Check with Megan, make sure she can hear you before we.
Okay.
Just speak to her, ask her.
Hi, Meg, can you hear me? Well, here she comes in right now. So we're just working out our, she can't hear anything, so we're working out our details here. Hang on.
Can you hear us now, Megan? You're muted.
Yep,
Yep.
I can hear you now. I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
have the sound.
Okay. So I called the meeting to order. I have to read a script first, then we'll go over the rules. So this open meeting of the Auburn Zoning Board of Appeals is to be operated as a hybrid format under Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022. The public can join the meeting remotely by dialing 1-646-749-3112 and access code 944-571-349. Or join by computer by logging on to globalgotomeeting.com. In the upper right corner, there'll be a login box, and you can enter 944-571-349. All supporting materials that have been provided to the members of this body are available on the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. As a preliminary matter, again, my name is Robert Tatro. I am the chair of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda participating remotely are present and can hear me. So members, when I call your name, if you could please respond in the affirmative. Vice Chair Michael Marin.
Present.
Mr. Richard Cussy.
Present.
Mr. Lawrence Chickalo is not with us this evening. Megan Roach, I have you by remote. Can you confirm, please?
Confirm, I'm here.
Thank you very much. Ms. Bush is not with us this evening, and Ryan Garabedian is also not with us this evening. Town officials, employees participating when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative.
I think Ryan might be on remotely.
Do we have, oh, hi, Ryan, he is here. Okay, so folks, Ryan Garabedian just logged on. He is our alternate member. So we have a pretty good quorum going this evening. Excellent. Thank you so much for showing up, Ryan. I appreciate it. Again, so going back to the town side, Tim Pratt, DDIS clerk.
Tim's not here tonight.
Okay, thank you. Caleb Moody, building commissioner.
I am here and Jesse America's here.
Thank you very much. Okay, please note that each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. State, please, if there are applicants participating remotely, could you state your name and address at this time? So do we have any applicants that have called in remotely that plan on speaking or participating this evening? All right, hearing none, seeing none, but we can go back to that and we'll check for again. Okay, I think I have one more section here. So with that being completed, we are going to begin. So as I explained earlier at the beginning of the meeting, folks, so we were going to have a super majority because now we have 5. I'm going to be moving, we need to move Mr. Garabedian up. So Mr. Garabedian normally be an alternate member. We're going to move him up to full voting status. So we're going to have 3 plus Ms. Roach and Mr. Garabedian. So you'll have 5 on the board. So this will be basically what it amounts to a full meeting. So there'll be no discrepancies in terms of voting. Okay, so with that being said, we have a 6 o'clock p.m. applicant, Kyle Robitaille, requesting a special permit under section 3.9.1.2 of the Auburn zoning bylaw for a home occupation located at 24 Eaton Ave, map 19, parcel 140. Is the applicant present? Sir, if you could approach the lectern and introduce yourself while I actually, oh, you're gonna come up here? Okay. So do I have a motion to open the 6 o'clock p.m. hearing?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to open as
Do I
stated.
have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. Vice Chair Marin?
approve.
Mr. Cussy? Ms. Roach?
Approve.
Mr. Garabedian? Okay, and I vote to approve, so the meeting is now open. Sir, I turn the floor over to you. If you could just explain to the board what what you're trying to accomplish, and then I can turn it over for questions and we can talk to abutters.
Yeah, I'm just looking to turn my hobby into pipe making into a little small business, run out of my garage. Run out of my garage. So basic tabletop tools, hand tools, nothing too crazy. But that's basically what I want to do. I just want to make pipes and run out of my garage.
Okay. So what I'll do is then, first of all, do we have any abutters that would like to speak to this hearing? Sir, if you'd like to approach the lectern, give your name and address, and just express your concerns or what they might be.
My name is David Parody, and next door neighbor to the Robitaille's for about 7 years now. Myself have been an Auburn resident for close to 20. Just wanted to come tonight to express my family's support for the projects that he's looking to do. I've witnessed his craftsmanship and just couldn't ask for a more outstanding neighbor.
Excellent. Thank you very much, too. Usually people come here and don't necessarily express it always the positive.
Oh.
So it's nice to see someone coming out and taking time out of their day to show some support. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Yes, sir.
Tom Kais, I live at 18 Eden Ave. I just missed the beginning because we're close enough to the mic. What's the business?
I just plan on making pipes out of my garage, smoking pipes out of my garage, and selling them from either digital, mostly digital, either a website or a Etsy or Instagram, something along those lines.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other abutters? Okay, hearing none, seeing none. Do we have anybody interested in speaking about this hearing that are waiting on the remotes? Okay, hearing none, seeing none. Vice Chair Maron, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for being here this evening. So are you planning any customer traffic? I know you mentioned a couple of avenues where you might sell, but any customer traffic?
No home visits, no residential, no one come to my house. So once the pipe is complete, there's a buyer. I will either take it to the post office, FedEx, UPS, whatever they choose, and that's what will happen. It'll be shipped that way.
Any modifications to your home for equipment?
No, everything's plug-in, tabletop, normal 120, so we're good.
So you already have that workshop set up?
Yeah, it's been a working, yeah.
Are you planning any signage for your business?
Like on the exterior, no.
And any, how will you get your materials? As far as
Usually it's a local order, or I can, usually like an exotic wood shop or something along those lines that carry the hardwoods that I need. I'll go and pick them up from there. It's literally, I'm working with blanks, 2x2 blanks, and I'll file them down from there, but no major deliveries coming to the house.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries.
Mr. Chairman, I'll reserve it. I don't have any additional questions at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Cussy.
Yeah, what are you making, pipes?
Pipes, smoking pipes.
Oh, smoking.
Yes.
I'm good, I don't have any questions.
Thank you.
Ms. Roach?
Nope, I think Mr. Marion covered the only question that I was going to ask.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Garabedian?
I'm all set. Mr. Mayor covered my questions too.
Great, thank you. Okay, I just have a couple. The construction of these pipes, is it glass, wood, metal? All wood pipes? Okay, so are you using, I'm assuming, just regular standard woodworking tools, lathes, or carving tools, or drills, or whatever, right? So, okay. So you don't have any mixture of like glass blowing involved with?
No,
right? So
no.
Just, I'm concerned with the fire part of it,
All wood, and some of the stems are gonna be ebonite, so that's just like but that, nothing, no like, heavy flames, nothing like that, like glass blowing, nothing like that.
Well, I know when you're talking about pipes, there's a varying degree of materials that can be made with those, so.
Yes,
I just wanted to
absolutely,
understand
yeah.
which
yeah.
one it was.
The wood, strictly wood.
So like, what types of woods do you usually use, just out of curiosity?
Ones that have a high heat yield, we're dealing with a maple, walnut, a cherry, if I can get my hands on some, briar, but those are usually the top ones.
Right. Is there a place that if, like, people wanted to see your work, just out of curiosity?
If everything goes as planned today, we plan on setting up an Instagram, a website, just the digital media. That's where everything will be located.
Excellent. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. I don't have any further questions. Did I bring up any that might interest you all?
Maybe just one, if I may, Mr. Chairman, just one
Please.
quick follow-up. Are there any adhesives or glues or
If there's going to be anything, any adhesives, if I use any, it'll be on the stem. Anything on the stommel is a no-go because of the heat yield. So we don't put any, I don't put any adhesives on that stommel. It would just be on the stem end, if anything. But usually you don't need adhesives.
and this may be stating the obvious, but large quantities of any blues or anything?
No.
Thank you. Very
Yeah, I
much.
know.
Thanks for indulging me. Appreciate it, Mr. Chairman. I don't have anything for
Absolutely.
I'm good.
Okay, just going to go around one more time. Ms. Roach, you all set?
I'm good.
Thank you. Mr. Garabedian?
I'm all set.
Okay, and just one more time, any abutters or anybody concerned in the audience? Okay,
Through
here,
the chair, I just have one question for the applicant.
yes.
Any employees? Just you? Okay.
Just me, I'm sorry.
Okay. I have no concerns. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion to close the public portion of the hearing?
Make a motion to close, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
Thank you very much. For a roll call vote, Vice Chair?
I approve.
Mr. Cussy? Ms. Roach? Mr. Garabedian?
Approve.
Thank you. Ms. Roach?
Sorry, approve. I can't get to my mute fast enough.
That's okay. Thank you very much. We'll work around it. I appreciate it. Okay, so, it's closed. I don't really have any more comments for myself. There's nothing from the gallery. Any other concerns, issues?
No concerns, no issues for me, Mr. Chairman.
So what we say, standard conditions, if that was the case, if the board so votes that direction, and if nothing else included?
Yes.
Okay, so do I have a motion for the 6:00 PM applicant Kai Robitaille requesting a special permit under section 3912 of the Auburn zoning bylaw for a home occupation located at 24 Eaton Ave, map 19, parcel 140?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve with standard conditions.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Roll call vote. Vice Chair Maron,
I approve.
Mr. Cussy, Ms. Roach,
Approve.
Mr. Garabedian,
Approve.
and I approve. So you're all set. I'm sure you can be in contact with the Department of Inspectional Services, and they'll let you know how to proceed from there, getting your permits and different things like that. So, good luck.
Thank you. Good luck to you.
All righty.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to close the 6 PM hearing?
Motion to close the hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Second? Thank you. Vice Chair Maron,
I approve.
Mr. Cussy, Ms. Roach,
I approve.
thank you. Mr. Garabedian,
Approve.
thank you, and I approve as well. Okay, so, on to the 6:05. We are at, okay, we're at 6:15, so we have to maintain the, time properly. The 6:05 PM applicant, and I'm gonna apologize if I make a mistake of this name. It's Yabadwai Napone, I hope I said that correctly, and I apologize if I did not, requesting a special permit under section 3912 of the Auburn zoning bylaw for a home occupation located at 29 Elbridge Road, map 54, parcel 24. Is the applicant present? Okay, if you could approach the lectern, please, sir. You can speak to the microphone. I'm going to open the hearing. Do I have a motion to open the 6:05 PM hearing?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to open the hearing as
Do I have a
stated.
second?
Second?
Thank you. Vice Chair Maron?
I approve.
Mr. Cussy? Ms. Roach?
I approve.
Mr. Garabedian?
Approve.
And I vote to approve, so the hearing is open. So, I want to make sure I have the right one here. Okay. I'm going to yield the floor to you, sir. If you could explain to the board what you'd like to do, then we can talk to abutters and we can go from there, so.
Right. So thank you everyone for being here and taking your time for this meeting. So my name is Yibadwe Mohamed Napon, and I'm at Elbridge, 29 Elbridge Road. So my business is about maintenance and heavy equipment maintenance, factory maintenance, manufacturing, and also heavy equipment. So I'm using one room in Elbridge as the office. So, and all the work I'm going to do will be on site. What does it mean? I'll have like a utility car where I'll have all my tools in there. And when I have customers, I will go to the factories, manufacturing, or where there is the need, and to do my services. And on Auburn, it will all be the office over there, because when you are doing that kind of job, you have to have a planning. Okay, you have to have a maintenance planning. When you have companies, you have to know what type of equipment they have over there, and you have to plan it before, you go to do the job over there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is before I bring it over to the members of the board, I'm going to ask if we have any abutters present that would like to speak on behalf of this hearing. Folks, if you could just step to the lectern, one at a time, introduce yourselves, give us your name and address and what your concerns are, and then we can take them from there.
Federal talked to us before, so we didn't know the procedures for this, so thank you for.
That's okay, just head right on over and we'll listen to what you have to say if you just want to introduce yourself and,
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, based on the numbers, do we have a sign-up sheet that we need for the abutters, or are we?
that's a good question. I can ask Caleb about that.
Just curious.
Would it be helpful if you had a sign-in sheet just for documentation? Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am?
Okay. My name is Paula Peachy. My husband over there is Brian Weatherby. We have Margarita Paradise. We have Brian Cantwell. Then we have the Larsons, Kathy, and Pete. So we're all here, and we made up a list of things that we would like to. First of all, what we want to know is what actually is home occupation? Could you define that for us, please?
So home occupation is something that you do in your home, other than retail sales. Normally you can't have customers coming to the home, or there's no storage of equipment. So that's why he's here today, to tell us what his intentions are. He runs a heavy maintenance company for heavy equipment and manufacturing equipment. So he's looking to use a room in his home as an office for that business.
So that has to be his residence, is that correct?
Correct.
What is his residence? What is his address? His residence address? Because he doesn't live there. Not to any of our knowledges.
So that's a question through the chair to the applicant, where your residence is.
I actually live in 19 Upland Garden Drive and also in 29 Elbridge Road. My wife is at 19 Upland Garden Drive and my residency is at 29 Elbridge Road. So I sometimes go over there and I'm sometimes at 29 Elbridge Road also.
Okay, I guess because none of us are aware there's a resident over there. Do you rent out property on your residence?
At Elbridge Road, no, I do not.
So there are people living there, but you don't rent them. They just live there.
Correct.
How many people live there right now?
Actually, I had 2 people living there frequently, every time. Okay, and actually I had 2 visitors just came, and one from Canada and one from Africa. So actually I have 4 people living over there.
Okay. So you have 4 people living there. There's 4 bedrooms. So what room in the house were you planning on using for your 4 bedrooms? What room were you planning on using for your
I don't think you necessarily has to answer that, ma'am. That's part of what the board would do during the.
Oh, so, okay, so we didn't
So if you
know.
have concerns, you're not here to interview him in regards to what he wants to do inside of his property. You can ask him questions about what type of activity, or you can ask
Okay.
through me if he's gonna be welding or if there's gonna be dangerous materials, but how he sets up the inside of his house is kind of really up to him.
All right, we didn't know what the procedures were on this, so thank you.
That's okay. I mean, I think.
Being patient. Should I just give you this list here and see if what I should use?
Through the chair, my suggestion would be to let the board members ask the applicant the questions, and then if the abutters have further questions beyond that, they could ask them.
Yeah.
That works for me.
That probably makes the most sense.
We understand
Sure,
you
you'll cover it.
obviously have some concerns, and generally speaking, we try to address those concerns before, but we'll give you the opportunity again to come up if we miss anything. But we'll certainly look into everything.
No, you were very thorough on the last one, so thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Everybody's more than welcome to come up, but I think at this point, we can let the board kind of investigate what's going on, and then we can determine from there, and we'll bring you back up.
Okay, thank you for being patient.
Excellent, thank you. So with that being said, I'm going to yield to the vice chair and ask if you have any questions of the applicant, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sure, so thank you for being here. So if I understand it correctly, this property that you have access to, you're going to essentially open up an office, but there's not going to be any work conducted in this other than office or clerical work, correct?
Yes, that's correct. It's gonna only, sorry, go ahead. Yeah, it's gonna only be an office because, like I said before, there is some different application and website where you need to do the maintenance planification, and you need quietness to be able to do that work.
So that work, clearly office work, I'm gonna, and if my other board members will forgive me, I'll run through a couple of things for expediency, but it sounds to me as though you wouldn't have any customers visiting that home. There wouldn't be any need for signage, that's correct?
If it's not possible, I will not have any customer over there because generally I goes to customers because that's where the equipment are. Now, I'm gonna like open a possibility if, for example, someone want to talk to me, I can say, okay, come in the office. But if in Auburn it's not possible, I just go where needed to go at the company to be able to talk to them. Yes.
So let's explore that for a second. So if you were to have, need that conversation beyond the phone, you're not talking about work other than a discussion or a planning discussion, right? Because it sounds like the business that you're in is quite physical, right? So physically working on equipment.
Correct, yes.
None of that's gonna happen in this residence.
No, because you have like loaders, graders, there's even not space to put it over there.
And you testified earlier that you would have your tools in your car.
Yes.
And so forth, and you would actually go to the site and work it there. So if you were in that scenario, how many folks would you have at a time at your residence to have such a meeting? One customer, two customers?
I'll say one if there is, and yeah.
All right, thank you. No need for signage outside for this business?
Come again, please.
Do you plan on putting a sign outside advertising your business?
I will go based to what the town is requiring because I do know that I saw a sign by my neighbor. She's here. Just a little sign like that saying that notary. Okay. I'm assuming that that could be possible over there, but I'm assuming that I cannot like put like a big giant sign over there.
You're correct. We do have bylaws that restrict and have guidelines around signage. So it was a curiosity factor of whether or not you're going to put a sign there. So you're open to that possibility if you go down that road.
Correct. And also, excuse me for my my accent. If there is something you don't understand, just let me know. I will repeat it.
You're doing fine.
Not a problem.
You're doing fine. You're probably.
Thank you for that.
Forgive my accent. It's probably, I'm sure it works both ways. You know what, I'm going to reserve, Mr. Chairman, and give the other board members a chance to jump in.
Thank you. Mr. Cussy, sir, to you?
Yeah, so you own this property?
Correct.
Okay. What about storing materials? Buckets and anything stored at the property?
No, nothing will be stored at the property because usually it's big equipment. For example, if I order like a cylinder for a loader, it's huge, and regularly FedEx can carry those, and USPS cannot carry those also. So those type of equipment will be delivered directly on the site. For example, cylinders or gearboxes or pumps or some conveyor belts, etc. They are so big, we can't deliver them at, and they will not because those ones cannot be delivered in, what is the name, in the residential place. Right. There is a special order where they only deliver on the industrial or business places.
Right, so
yeah.
you have a utility truck, is that what you have?
I haven't bought it yet, but it's about $25,000. I have to buy it.
So you won't be bringing cylinders home to repack and things like that?
No.
Okay, so no construction on the site?
No construction.
No stored materials?
No.
All right, I'm good for now, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Cussy is that resident expert on understanding what this gentleman has in store, so I think he's the best to vet this type of applicant. I'm going to go ahead and leave it to Ms. Roach. Go ahead, ma'am, if you're still available with us.
Oh, I'm here. So I think just to maybe answer one of the questions from the abutters, is the definition of a home occupation, according to our bylaw, which is 3.9.1.2, is a home occupation other than a retail sales conducted entirely within the dwelling unit or an accessory building by a resident, not owner, and employing no other persons than the residents may be authorized by special permit of the Board of Appeals. Businesses using hazardous materials will not be authorized. So that is the just direct quote. I'm sure most people don't keep a copy of the bylaws at home. So just so that any of the abutters understand what the definition of home occupation is. And then also, just to Mr. Cussy, I know you asked if he was the owner. I just wanted to say, through a quick Registry of Deeds website, I can confirm he in fact is the owner of this property. And I don't have questions.
Again, Ms. Roach, thank you so much. Your diligence is always very helpful with these things. And I appreciate the clarification for the folks here, the concerned abutters as well. So thank you so much. Mr. Garabedian, to you, sir.
I just have a quick question. I don't know if it was asked since it's tough being online, but it's going to just be you, correct? You don't have anyone working under you?
So you're just by yourself, basically. You're going to only work in the office by yourself for the most part. He just didn't hear that part when you were talking about it earlier.
Oh, yes, because for now, I'm the only one who can do that planning for my works. Yes, I will be the only one who's going to do that.
Okay, perfect. That was my only question.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Do we have an abutter that actually might be called in for this hearing? I see somebody else. I just want to make sure everybody has had their opportunity. 1 second. Okay, so we don't have any other butters. You'd like to add something, sir?
Yes, for the question you just asked, I am planning to train my daughter to do what I'm going to do. So just to complete the answer.
Okay, yeah, that's understandable. I mean, if he's gonna, anybody would want to train somebody at paperwork, right? So that's, I don't think I could consider a daughter an employee, just for my own sake. Okay, so is there anything else you'd like to add, sir?
Yes, I would like to, because I have my neighbors over here, I just want them to be comfortable with what I'm going to do. And if they have any concern, the question she wanted to ask and anything, I'm open to answer all questions. And if there is something I can do to make it better, I will work on it.
Okay, that's well said. Thank you. So if it's okay with the members of the board, I'm going to go back to the abutters. We can see if they have any other concerns. Let's see if we've hopefully.
Before you do, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
There are 2 points that were raised, and just to be litigious, I'd like to just raise them for clarification. for myself.
Absolutely.
And they may have been asked and answered, but if you indulge me, it'd be very quick. So understanding, sir, that you're the property owner, are you a resident of Auburn?
Correct.
So you are a resident of Auburn. And you had mentioned, not for now, but I appreciate the clarification on having any employees that you do plan to train your daughter, and I admire that. But in addition to your daughter, are you planning on any expansion with additional employees other than your daughter in the business?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, sir.
Since we're at it, Mr. Cussy, anything else come to mind?
No.
Okay, and I know we already checked with the other 2 board members. So again, okay, one last thing, and then I'm going to bring it back to the abutter just so we can keep things moving. But go ahead.
Yeah, so just to complete your question, if there is more people, because my plan is this. First of all, when I will do the field services, I'm planning to open a business place, like a garage where I'm going to do more things, like machine shop mechanic and all those. I'm planning after 1 or 2 years of doing that, if I have enough money saved up, I'm going to move to another place where it is a business location, and I will do more stuff in there. So just to answer
Thanks for sharing
your question.
And I applaud your ambition, and I hope you're successful.
Thank you very much.
We're focused this evening on just this residence, right? So you're not planning on that kind of expansion at this residence.
No.
But I sincerely hope that you're successful. Thanks for sharing that.
No problem.
And does Caleb have any input on this? Do you have?
Caleb, sir?
I don't have any input at this time. I'd like to hear what the abutters have to say.
Okay. All right, so I think you folks have heard some, the concerns and the questions of the board. Would you like to go back up, anybody, and ask any other issues? Go ahead, ma'am. If you could just give us your name and address, please, and. Do you need some help? Okay, just want to make sure. I'd be happy to help you.
Take your time, we're not in a rush, ma'am.
Good evening. I'm Margarita Paradise. I live at 32 Elbridge Road. One major concern that I feel we all have is the traffic, the parking. Because Elbridge Road is a narrow road. And we pretty much on, the houses are pretty much on top of one another, which makes it very hard to park even on the street. How would this home business affect the parking?
So, sir, do you think you'll have any additional vehicles besides what you have now for the business?
No, I will not.
Okay, and do you have are there any parking issues on your property currently?
Currently, no. I had a parking issue on the past, but I did meet with Mr. Gray from Auburn Town and explained me all the rules. And from that, we took care of it. Okay. Because I brought some vehicles over there, and he said I can have that over there, and I moved them out. That was like 2 years ago, I believe, or 1 year and a half.
Okay. So what we'll do, ma'am, is we'll take note of the concerns as they come up one at a time, and then the board will address them and get the answers for you and make sure that you're satisfied. So is the parking the one thing that you have for a concern?
The name of the business and what type of business it is.
I mean, it seems to me that it's basically just home occupation, that he's going to be going off-site, doing repairs, contracted repairs that are going to be necessary to keep machine shops or whatever running. And then he's going to go back and do his paperwork at home. That's what it seems like to me, which really is the actual benefit of this does not really change for the town. But quite frankly, it's because it becomes a tax issue. I mean, let's face it, that's what really, most of the time when you get a permit for a home occupation, it's because you want to go legit on the books and because you want to be able to pay your taxes. So it doesn't really affect the town when somebody's in there, but it's a step for them to be able to become legitimized.
Okay.
So just to keep that in mind, and we can take all of your concerns if the board sees that they have merit, and they can turn those into conditions on the special permit. And just so you are aware as well, if by chance this gentleman decides to move, let's say, that special permit does not stay with the home. It automatically, literally vanishes, and if anybody wanted to do it again, they have to come before the board and start all over again. So the benefit of a special permit is it only lasts for as long as that person has the property. So it's not attached to it, so to speak. I wanted to make sure everybody understood that as well. Okay?
Well covered, Mr. Chairman.
Does the business have a name?
Yes, the name of the business is Supreme Industrial Services.
Supreme Industrial Services.
Supreme Industrial Services, correct. And I offer services.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
May I ask a follow-up question relative to the parking?
Absolutely.
Recognizing the diagram, and I did have an opportunity to take a look at the property, but if you were to have a customer that would come and discuss planning in your office, would that customer park on your lot or on the street while he's visiting with you?
The customer will park on the garage because I have one friend over there, except weekends, is out for all day. So the other one, you'd have a different schedule. So for him, I can't tell. But for one of my friends over there, I will always have one spot for a customer.
So what you're saying for the record, sir, is that if you were to have a customer come to the house,
If
they
yes.
would not, if they would not park on the street, they would park on your lot in your garage?
Correct. And also, the concern I have, since that it can kind of like create a little bit of issue because she's right, it's really narrow, the road. I can just kind of like decide to say, okay, I will not meet any customer at home. I will just go on the site and meet them. Because anyways, everything we have to talk about is more practical than words. Right. You know, it's more practical. You gotta show it and here, than talking about it, you know.
Thank you, sir.
No problem.
You've obviously displayed a great deal of flexibility in working
And I
with
think-
your neighbors and with the town. If I can ask just a follow-up question of Caleb. Of course. Caleb, do we know on this street, if there is permissible off-street parking or on-street parking?
I would assume there is.
Okay.
I'm sure the winter ban goes in effect, but I would assume.
Barring the winter ban, it is permissible to park on the street, barring any safety.
Unless it's posted no parking.
Understood. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely. So I think if I could just be, I'm not speaking on behalf of the applicant, but just to clarify that so everybody understands it. What he's saying is he's basically going to have technical conversations with people and not sales. So in other words, you're going to need to have something cylinder fixed, repacked. These rollers have to be repaired and this is what's going to cost you, not, lengthy discussions of, negotiating, it seems like. And yeah, I mean, most of the time, again, I think Mr. Cussy understands this too. If you're speaking with somebody remote, they're gonna be using their phone to show you what's broken, and you're gonna be using the latest technology to see what's happening right away, right? I mean, so, seems to me that that's how more things take place in that, right?
Yes. So mostly be clerical work, right? Office, billing and conversation.
So back to the abutters. Does anybody else have any concerns that the board may not have addressed yet? Yes, sir? If you could go to the microphone and introduce yourself, please.
All getting there for sure.
We're all in the same race, right?
My concern, you may have already answered, he doesn't reside there. Is that permissible? He does not reside there.
We have to make sure that we are clear, sir. When we're discussing the merits of a special permit application, we have to stick within the scope and responsibility of the board. Sometimes reaching out beyond our scope puts us in jeopardy. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly.
No, you're not, you're talking like a politician. The answer is, he does not reside there.
Through the chair. So for a home occupation special permit, it is only permissible to be issued to a resident of the property. So through the chair, I'd ask the applicant, where do you get your mail? Your personal mail?
I receive my personal mail in 29 Elbridge Road. That's where I receive it.
So you're a resident of 29 Elbridge Road?
Like I said, my wife is in other address, and I'm on Elbridge Road. So I sometimes goes there, and I'm also sometimes at Elbridge. But that's where I reside. And also my schedule, it's a little bit difficult. What does it mean? Usually at sometime at night, I have to be at work. And sometimes during the daytime, I'm home, but I'm sleeping. When I wake up at night, I'm going to work. So, and usually with the customer I'm working, kinda for now, it's when there's no production, when there's nobody in the factory, that's when I can do my job, not when they are producing. And usually people are producing during the daytime or 2 shifts or 3 shifts. So depending on what I have to do, I plan it so that they don't have to stop the production for me to do my job. So that's why maybe people can see me every time, like a regular time. I gotta wake up at 6 a.m., come back at 3 p.m. every day. No, I'm all over the place. And I sometimes also travel. because I go to New York also because that's where I was living before moving to Massachusetts. So I have some contact over there. They have a machine shop mechanic, a machine shop equipment, like I don't know if you know. It's lathe, millings, okay? You use it to make parts. Today they call this CNC machines, okay? So I have some contact over there. I sometimes travel and I do those jobs. Yeah.
All that being said, does he live there?
Yes.
As far as the town understands and concerns, all the documentation that we have says that he lives there. Again, if he says that he works different hours, I mean, what he says makes sense. If you have a factory that works first shift and second shift, he has to go in there third shift to make a repair, then he's not necessarily home when the average person may work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. So again, we don't have that type of documentation, and we can't suppose that as part of a permit application. If the town has all the documentation that says he lives there, we can't say that he doesn't. We just don't have that authority. We're a zoning board.
Yeah.
You most
Makes you
certainly can.
think he doesn't live there?
He does not, never there. I live next door to the guy. I see his cars come and go. I see his two tenants there. I never see him there. I see him there once in a while. His wife's there once in a while. I just don't ever see him there. And I live right next door. I've been there for 7 years, man. And I see who comes and goes. And it's not him.
Come again?
Your mailing address is 29?
Correct.
Okay, the other thing was now, this special permit, if he's to sell the house, you've already, I guess you answered, that permit will not go with the house.
Correct.
That
It's
does
in
not?
his name only, and it does not attach to the property at all. Special permits do not. If we were talking about other issues, then yes, that would be the case, but special permits do not. They expire on the home.
Now, could he rent this office space out to somebody else?
No, there is no subletting of office space. There's no subletting of home occupation special permits. And we can make that a condition of the permit too.
I would. I would like to see that, if I could.
I think Vice Chair Maron is always diligent about taking notes and determining what our best course of language is for that type of stuff. So we're certainly not opposed to it.
Yeah, I would like to make sure that we don't move in somebody else's business in there a couple months from now, because I can see that happening.
And just because the special permit is granted, it doesn't mean it's closed. It also means that if you have legitimate complaints, or anybody does, for any special permit in town, you can bring it to the Department of Inspectional Services, and they can address it. And if they're legitimate concerns, the permit can be reviewed. It's not etched in stone.
Through the chair, just in the past, the board has put time limits on these special permits where I think one home occupation in the past, we did 12-month review of the permit at that time. And then they came back after 12 months, abutters are notified again. And if the board decides to issue the permanent special permit at that time, they could do that. It's just an option the board has and is used in the past.
And that's a good point, actually. The building that in question I can think of off the top of my head was the old Usher, Eddie Usher's automotive place down at the end of Curtis Street near Upland Gardens. They wanted to put a motorcycle shop in there. Obviously, there was a lot of concern from the neighbors. So we issued a permit for a year. They came back a year later. The abutters had no problem, so we extended the permit. So we can do things like that too. You know, we can put a timeline for a review.
Yeah, I'd like to make sure, I want to make sure we're not selling used cars or something out of there too.
That definitely wouldn't happen because they can't have a used car permit in town. You can't have a home occupation of used cars, but that's understood as well. I understand you don't want equipment going in and out of there. You don't.
No, I don't want to. There's a lot of little kids on the street playing on the street. The little kids, there's a gate there. The kids are in and out of the gate all the time. Kids playing. Elbridge Road is a play lot for kids. If you haven't been there, it's a play lot for kids. That's what it is. All the years I've been there. Okay, I guess that's it. So how do I know if you give this 1-year permit that we can review?
You'd know tonight because we would put it as a condition of the permit, and you would have to be notified again when that hearing came up as an abutter. So in other words, like say next year at this time, it might be the month before, you'd get a letter in the mail saying, we're going to do a review if you're welcome to come.
Now, my big concern is he's not a resident there. I know he's not a resident there. So what happens if he's not a resident? Does it end at that point?
again, we can't discuss it. If he's got everything on paper, that's not really our purvey as this board. We're here to discuss the merits of a special permit, and we're limited to what we can say and do.
understood.
If you can demonstrate that after the fact, but you can't come in here and say, I know he doesn't live there, we don't have any evidence. I'm not a judge. I can't do an investigation on that kind of.
I understood. No, I understood. I just was just concerned because I don't want somebody else coming in here and saying, oh, there's a special permit here for an office. I'm going to run this office. Oh, by the way, I want to sell something else here. This has been a residential area for as long as I've been there. Families have come and gone. We've never had any type of business there. There is no need for business there. There are a lot of empty buildings in Auburn, a lot of empty office spaces. Some negotiation could be made to bring those prices down to what he could afford. So I see no reason to have any type of business there.
Okay,
It's just not good for a neighborhood.
okay. Duly noted.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day.
Please, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on behalf of the abutters? We've heard a lot of your concerns. Yes, sir? If you'd like to approach the microphone or?
My name's Brian Cantwell. I live at 33. I just, it doesn't make sense because there's plenty of office space in Auburn. There's no need for it. It's a residential area. What are the hours of the office? Is there a set number of hours?
If I had a room in my home that I was doing things 24 hours a day, if my neighbors didn't know it, I can't control what somebody does inside their house.
Through the chair, can I address that?
Go ahead.
So the applicant has stated that he's willing to not have anybody come to this office, any employees or clients. He's looking to use a room in this house to do his bookkeeping and his bookwork and stuff like that. He's allowed to have a 4 square foot sign in a residential area, which is a 2x2 sign. It's not a big sign. So this isn't a business where he's gonna have clientele coming in and he can't have any employees. So I don't think it's the type of business you're thinking of.
It just doesn't seem the right place for it. If there were other people doing it, it'd be one thing.
So there are other people all
If there were.
there are. So the home occupation is allowed in every residential district throughout town with a special permit. This is not the first, they just approved one prior to him tonight.
In the neighborhood?
We do this monthly, easily.
I don't know if there's any in your specific neighborhood, but there could be.
Changes the neighborhood.
How is your neighborhood different from any other neighborhood in the community, sir?
Well, if there's an office there, there's no offices in my neighborhood.
I have neighbors that use an office and they live next to my ranch and I don't know that they have an office.
I would guess there are home occupations in your neighborhood that you don't know about.
Right.
So what's the value of going for a permit then, if he can just get away with
And
it?
because this
Tax
legitimizes a
reason?
business, so it's the first step for them being able to claim themselves as an authentic business and they can claim taxes.
It allows him to use that address on his business certificate so he can file taxes.
It's really what it comes down to. It's all, we have people that make soap in town. We have people that, again, the person before us make pipes. We have somebody else that just left here that also makes pipes. We'd be surprised that just with the fallout of COVID, I guess, if you will, we have more and more home occupation applications every month, literally. It's probably between this and additions, it's basically what this board has done for the last 2 years. So it's really not uncommon.
And through the chair, the permit can be conditioned so that he can't have clientele or employees at his residence. And it can also be conditioned to be reviewed in 12 months, where you would be notified as an abutter again to come back if you had issues with it.
Okay.
Yes.
we encourage people to come forward.
Right.
And come in and get the permit. We'd much rather see that than somebody just put an office in without coming forward, so we appreciate you coming in and going through the process, for sure,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
You have another abutter would like to speak? Well, no, I just need you to, if you're gonna speak, you have to go back up to the microphone, please, ma'am.
are these new issues, ma'am? Ma'am, are these new issues or ground that we've covered?
It's just a question I have about
We already covered parking, ma'am. Again, we've discussed that he's actually willing to not even have customers. I'm starting to think that we have other motivations here besides concerns about a special permit. And those are things that we can't deal with in this. If this person is not living in this property, we don't have any proof of it. We can't talk about that.
The applicant's agreed not to have any customers come to his home.
That's what I wasn't sure what you were,
Right.
I wasn't sure I understood, that's all. I wasn't sure I understood, and I'm just questioning. I'm an old lady in my late 70s here, so we have to be patient with me. I wasn't sure that the parking situation, that he's not gonna have a parade, his daughter's not gonna have a car.
Covered.
Yes.
Covered. All right, as the chair, I'm gonna say that we've covered these topics enough, and I'm gonna make a motion that we close the public portion of the hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to close the public portion of the hearing.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Mr. Maron?
I approve.
Mr. Cussy? Ms. Roach?
I approve.
Mr. Garabedian?
Approve.
And I approve. The public portion of the hearing is now closed. We will hear no further public comment. To you, Mr. Vice Chair Maron.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I can speak for, and I don't often speak for my fellow board members, but I think I can speak for all of us to mention 2 points. We greatly appreciate when the public comes and participates in these. Because when we conduct a hearing in the absence of abutter comments and without the public participating, we're somewhat blinded to the concerns that they might have. And so I want folks that we're here and we're speaking both, and I don't know if we had any abutters on the phone
We don't.
or online, but those that were thoughtful enough before us to come and speak their minds and give us their concerns, because we all live in this community. And so, and one of the reasons why we're on the board is because this community is important to us, just like it's important to you. So your comments are really appreciated. I want to make sure that you realize how valuable it is that you've taken your personal time to come here tonight and share with us your concerns. I also want to just echo Mr. Cussy's comments, if I may, at how much I commend and admire anyone that could conduct this kind of business in secret. And I would dare say that there are likely folks that are doing it today. But gentlemen such as this that comes forward and wants to propose a legitimate business space in his home and exercise those rights, and does it in the face of the board in a way that we can see for our view. And I would just mention to the abutters that are here that we do have the role of setting conditions to try to address some of the concerns that you would raise this evening. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I don't have any follow-up questions. I did, for the board's indulgence, take a few copious notes, and I do have some thoughts on conditioning some areas of the permit. But I'll end on this. The question of residency has been raised this evening by the abutters, and we had asked some questions. And the applicant is on record in stating that he is in fact a resident of this address. And Commissioner had been thoughtful enough to ask the forward question of where is he getting his mail, and he went on record to say that he was getting his mail at this property. For the board's indulgence, I would consider, I think it was a strong recommendation, I would consider a condition if board members would join for a 12-month review, if we were in fact to approve this application. For the reason that residency can be, and Mr. Chairman, you had eloquently stated, not our job to sit and judge someone's factual nature of what they're saying. We don't have evidence to or from. But within that 12-month period, if it were in fact proven that he was not in fact a resident, then that would be a recourse that the permit could be reviewed.
Agreed.
So I would be very much in favor of a 12-month review on the permit if we in fact move the application forward, as well as some other notes I've made. And thank you for letting me go winded on this one.
No, I think it's more important that we have clarification. I want everybody to understand as well that we want to seek as much balance as we can if these things move forward. And we don't want to have a negative impact on any of our communities. We're all just members of the community and volunteers just like you are. But we are finding more and more home occupations. It's very, very common in town. And you're certainly not the only ones that have come before us. So, and you certainly won't be the last. Mr. Cussy, to you, sir.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm all set. Mike covered it very nicely.
Ms. Roach?
So I guess I feel differently than Mr. Marin. I do not know that 12 months from now, we still have any authority to weigh in on whether or not he's a resident. I firmly believe that that is not up to us to decide. And I don't understand how we would allow that to be proved any differently than what we're saying tonight as from 12 months from now. I've heard the concerns. I hear the concerns. I understand, but we don't have the authority to decide whether or not he's a resident now or in 12 months, in my opinion.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
You may.
Because I thank you very much for that, Ms. Roche, because I almost reached to you to ask you for your opinion on how we would view that. My thought is that if in fact, in a given time frame, the town was presented with information to the contrary, and it was investigated and decided that outside of our authority, that he wasn't in fact a resident. If that information was brought to the town, to the building commissioner, thereby, just based on our approval, this application would have to be a town resident. And so if the town has information that comes to light that we're shown that he's not a town resident, could we then not revoke the special permit?
So I see both of the points of what you and Ms. Roach are discussing, but I think for the purpose of clarification, I think what Ms. Roach is saying is we don't have the authority to do that. So we can, again, check if we can do that. I think, to your point is, we could probably say that if the traffic is a problem, if the park isn't a problem, if they're having anything that's taking place outside of the house, we could review those types of things. But I don't think we can actually go to the point where we're saying if he lives there or not, because again, it's beyond the scope of this board.
Oh, no, I agree, Mr. Chairman.
I mean, we could, if it came back before us and they said, we have proof that he's not here, we would have to forward that to someone else.
Oh, no, I agree, Mr. Chairman.
You know what I mean? We wouldn't have the ability to investigate it.
Under review, I agree,
Right.
Mr. Chairman, but what I'm suggesting is if the building commissioner or otherwise brought to our attention that we issued a permit to a non-resident of this address, just based on the fact that these permits have to be issued to a resident. And maybe this is a question for Caleb, does that permit then get revoked? Just based on the basis of,
Chair to,
we don't issue a special permit to a non-resident.
Through the chair, my recommendation would be to set a time limit on the special permit and to review the special permit as a whole in 12 months.
Right.
I'm not a detective. I don't work for the police department. As far, all the information that we've been provided and the applicant stated is he's a resident of that address. Until we have some kind of evidence that he's not, again, my recommendation would just be to set a time limit to review the application on a whole again in 12 months.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman, for indulging, and I think I've gone too far down this rabbit hole.
no, that's okay. That's what we're here for. We
It
wanna
was
make
that
sure-
it was that last piece of if in fact, and to make, and I think Ms. Roach makes a very strong point based on authority for this board. But my point of contention was if in fact, at a point in time in the future, we were presented with information, the town was presented with information, to essentially validate that he was not a resident.
Right.
At that point in time, I would suspect that there would be a course for this permit to be revoked.
I don't disagree with you, and I think quite frankly, in the meantime, we have a year to discover. We could literally just send this information to the town, and if they felt it was worthy, they could forward it to the town attorney, and he could just review it over the next year and determine whether or not we have a case at all. So we do have recourse of action to determine the limit of our ability.
Yeah, very true, Mr.
So
Chairman.
we can always refer if we have to. I just choose to not do that as a chair, because I think if we've been given the authority as citizens, we make the decision to save the money. But if we have to, we can always take that route.
So through the chair, so it wouldn't be a matter of revoking the permit in 12 months. If a permit was issued today, it would be issued for a 12-month period, and then the board would decide whether to issue a new permit or or to not issue a permit at that time. And I'll say this for the abutters, if there's ever an instance where the resident's activities are disturbing the neighborhood, or they have concerns, they can come to my office, and the applicant, because he has a special permit issued by the ZBA, can always be called in front of the ZBA for violation of that special permit or any of its conditions.
Right. So I think, and again, I can't have you speak because we already closed the public portion of the hearing, but just for clarification purposes, again, so we all understand. What the building inspector is saying is that if any time you brought forth a complaint and there was reasonable evidence to conclude that that actually took place, you could bring that to the town, and then we could bring him back and review what the activity on the property was, and then modify or cancel the special permit. Again, these are not permanent. The beauty of a special permit is that the town has authority to suspend or remove, versus a variance that would stay with the property until, Auburn no longer exists. So this gives us a lot of flexibility. And I understand a lot of people's concerns. Like I said, you can go back and look. It's the second or third most popular application we have in town, and it's happening all over the place. It's very common. And what will happen is he'll be in that room, and hopefully you'll never know he was there, except for he's paying his taxes on it. Okay, so with that being said, we closed the public portion of the hearing. We've heard everything. Mr. Garabedian, do you have any other further concerns before I go ahead and try to move forward?
Yeah, just for the record, I just want it to be known that I'd be against putting the time limit on. I don't know why. Just for the sake of uniformity, we didn't do it for the last application, and the merits are pretty much the same on both of these. That they want us to start up a bona fide business in their home.
So I do appreciate that, and I would ask the board to take those words into consideration, but just for the record, we always consider each application to stand on its own, but I do see the point of, the first applicant versus the second. I get that argument.
It's the abutters.
Correct. Yeah, again, it's the abutters that have our issue.
Through the chair, the board does have the legal authority to put time limits on special permits. I would say each and every permit is individual. None of them are precedent setting, and no two are alike.
Right. So with that being said, I think we've had a lot of discussion on this. I think we vetted it pretty well. I think we know the concerns of the neighborhood. Is there a motion on hang on one second. I want to make sure I read this correctly. Here we are. Is there a motion on the 6:05 PM applicant Yabudi Napone requesting a special permit under section 3.9.1.2 of the Auburn zoning bylaw for a home occupation located at 29 Elbridge Road, map 54, parcel 24?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the application as stated with standard conditions, in addition to a 12-month review of the permit application. That there would in fact be no transfer or subletting of the home occupation, and that there would be no there would be no off-property or on-street parking for the home occupation.
Through the chair, my recommendation on the first for the 12-month review would be, rather than a 12-month review, just put a 12-month time period on this special permit. It will expire in 12 months, and it will be up to the applicant to reapply if he would like to move forward with it.
Very good, and I appreciate so Mr. Chairman, I would amend and make the clarification that, that we move to approve with the conditions, amending the first condition that I had stated beyond standard conditions, that it be issued as a 12-month.
So we'll consider it a blanket 12-month review. Correct. I think that should be how we stated on record. Would that be correct, sir?
Actually, the permit would be, in 12 months, the permit will expire, right, and it will be a new application if he wishes to move forward with a new application.
So in essence, I would amend, Mr. Chairman, to issue the permit for a term of 12 months.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a first, we have a motion and a second. I'm going to do a roll call vote. Vice Chair Maron?
I approve as stated.
Mr. Cussy? Ms. Roach?
I will approve, although I do want the record to reflect that I am against the 12-month requirement. And I also think the fee should be waived for him to renew his permit next time.
I'm sorry, could you, I appreciate your concerns and your notations, but could you just say it again? Because I couldn't hear it, and I just want to make sure it's recorded correctly. And it's my hearing, I apologize.
Nope, I will vote to approve, but I do want the record to reflect that I disagree with the fact that it's being issued only for 12 months. And I also think that when he needs to reapply in 12 months, his fees should be waived.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Garabedian?
Approve the same comments as Ms. Roche.
Okay. So we have a fold, if you will, in our, so we can leave the 12-month and we can have, as it noted that Ms. Roach did not appreciate that. But also, Ms. Roach brings up an interesting point that should he reapply in 12 months, that the fees be waived. And I think she has to be heard on that as a member. So do we want to continue that or add that as part of the?
Through the chair, so a new application in 12 months would be a separate hearing. So that would be dealt with at that time. If the board chose to waive the fees at that time. If the board wants to waive fees, they would have to waive fees for this current application. You can't waive fees for a future application that's not even been received yet.
So, Ms. Roach, as the chair, if it's okay with you, I would like to duly note your concern and also duly note that if in fact the applicant does decide to come forward, it was discussed in the meeting prior to meeting this one that the waiver would be considered in the future. So we can at least make note of that. So if he comes before us again, we can take that into consideration at the time. Does that work for you?
Works for me, I'll still be here.
Thank you so much. Mr. Garabedian, since you expressed the same concern, does that work for you, sir?
Yeah, it works with me.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay. So the art of negotiation has been wielded quite well tonight. So we have a motion to approve. We discussed the 12-month expiration. We also will discuss fees at a future hearing if there are any and determine at that time. All right, so I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. So we have a motion. I got a vote from Vice Chair Maron. I got a vote from Mr. Cussy. I got a vote from Ms. Roach. Do I have a vote from Mr. Garabedian? I just want to make sure that we're doing the right thing.
Yeah, I approved it.
Okay, and I vote to approve. So with that being said, it is approved with conditions, including a 12-month expiration. So do I have a motion to close the hearing?
Motion to close the hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a second? Thank you very much. Vice Chair Maron, Mr. Cussy, Ms. Roach,
Approved.
Mr. Garabedian.
Approved.
And I vote to end the hearing. So thank you very much. If you have any questions or concerns, sir, you can reach out to Caleb. It's the Department of Department of Inspectional Services. And you will get the permits and then we can go move forward from there. So thank you for coming in tonight. Thank you for making yourself available. Thank you for answering all the questions. And we'll go from there.
Good luck to you.
Just wanna make it clear with my neighbors, nobody else will use this office beside myself. And also, I do apologize for the car I brought there like 2 years ago. It's something I didn't know. If I knew it, I wouldn't have done it. So I sincerely apologize for those. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, have a good night. Okay, so we'll let these ladies and gentlemen and applicants and everybody else exit the room and then we move on to other business. So last month, we were unfortunately not able to reach a quorum. So as a result, we were not able to vote on the 430 Rochdale Street 24-month extension request. So I just happened to be on the zoning board review committee that's still happening. And I learned during that meeting, and it's on the record, if anyone wanted to look it up, they can see the meeting, the minutes. But apparently it's not the delay of the applicants for these solar farms. It's the delay of the federal government body that is to review the plans. They are so backed up with these solar farms and the applications for these solar credits that they are literally years behind and they have no plans on staffing. So, as far as the extension of solar permits are concerned, it's not on the fault of the applicant, it's the fault of the review process. So for that, just, I wanted you guys all to be aware, the members to be aware of that. So with that being said, do we have any concerns? Can I just ask you folks, hang on one second. Can we, have you guys move into the lobby, please?
Hearing is closed. If you want to come back and discuss it, I'll be over there. We're working right now. I'm trying to finish the meeting. Sorry. It's okay.
We're gonna let them vacate. Okay. I apologize for the delay for the two people that are maybe possibly watching us. Okay, so with that being said, and I'm not sure if you really heard everything at home, but I'll review very quickly. We had an applicant last month, 430 Rochdale Street, 24-month extension. This is one of the solar farms. It has worked out to our benefit regardless because the technology is improving, which means the farms are actually shrinking. But that's a good thing. But the delay on these applications is, again, on the fault of the federal government agency that's supposed to review all these things. So with that being said, very quickly, do I have a motion on the 430 Rochdale Street 24-month extension request for the solar project?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve, but I'd like to reserve the following comment.
Okay.
I do appreciate that this is not the applicant's issue. It's clearly a review and processing issue on the government side. But having said that, it's not our intent to just continue to kick an application down the road to infinitum. And there's got to be, what I was pleased to see was that the site plan for this, it asked for quarterly reviews. And I was actually pleased to see that memo in here just for an update. I do think that it's the challenge of the nature of the business, and the predicament that they find themselves in. So I hold them in no fault of their own for having to do this. But I think in running this business for the town, for me, there's a breaking point of when do we have them go away and resubmit based on it being either a substantive change or a substantive timeframe. And maybe it doesn't matter. I think you're right. I think the technology as it improves just makes it better. But if this were a different type of application, at a certain point in time, we'd be talking about kicking them out and having them resubmit.
So interestingly enough, from what I understand, and I cannot 100% verify this, we could ask Caleb to do so, but I do believe that they were informed of that at the planning board during that meeting, saying that we are not going to extend past this one.
Really?
I believe so.
Interesting.
So I believe the other board members seem to be in tune with the same concerns.
Taking a harder line than I was even intended.
Well, I think they just wanted to let them know that as far as they were concerned, it was going to be the last extension. It has, yeah, we're probably coming up on 5 or 6 years on this now. But again, it's kind of embarrassing on the federal side that you have to wait that long to.
No question.
The federal government is pushing solar farms and then they can't review the application.
Yeah, no question. And I won't even, I won't even.
Want to go there, yeah.
Won't even be, yes.
No, I was.
Yes, I won't even begin to get on the political scope road of the implications of that. But thank you for letting me be heard, because I don't, not in a mean-spirited way do I want to see them not be successful. But in the same tune, it's one of those of conducting the town's business. We've got to cap it and have them move on.
I think the other thing they expressed too was the fact that because the federal government has to review, they have to show that their permits are still active and approved before they can get reviewed. So if we cancel their permits, they have to go to the back of the line again. I think that's really what happens. So,
Which is incredibly incredulous. I mean, it would be incredibly disingenuous for them in earnest, no fault of their own, with every legitimate I dotted and T crossed, for them to have to do so. And I would not be in favor of putting him in a position like that.
Right.
For something like this. It just, this checks and balances is messy.
it absolutely is.
But thank you for letting me be heard.
Of course. Mr. Cussy, your concerns?
I'm in agreement, one more extension. What is it, 2 years?
It is, correct.
I would be all for giving them another couple of years, but after that, I mean, like Mike
Let's
said.
review the whole project.
Yeah, I mean,
Let's take a look at it.
Yeah.
And
they
see.
should be able to get it done,
And-
then
and-
I would hope.
Right. And again, I agree with all of that, and I think it's interestingly, that if you remember, this project actually started with 5 house lots, and then they came before us and they shrunk it to 4. So let's hope they can shrink it to 3 by the time the permits.
I do recall.
I would love
Would be
that.
nice.
Yeah,
So there is some benefit.
right, because also, they have the people that concern themselves with the eyesore part of it, So we could see if that works
I
out.
agree, but as stated, if you even recall, Mr. Chairman, I opened up my comments with an approval
Right.
of the application.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so, Ms. Roach, any concerns with you, regarding this 430 Rochdale Street 24-month extension?
Nope.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, I apologize for interrupting you and Ms. Roach. I believe we need a second.
Well, yes, but I'm still going to make sure, I want to make sure everybody.
Very good. No, very good. That's the
Mr.
conversation.
Garabedian, and you kind of heard I know that you weren't really necessarily here for all of these types of negotiations, but for the very least, for the training purposes, we'll include you.
Yeah, it makes sense. I don't have any questions though right now.
Okay, thank you. So I think actually, Mr. Garabedian wasn't on the board when this application came in initially, so it would only be the 4 of us to really vote on it.
And with a supermajority, Mr. Chairman, I believe
Right.
we'd be fine.
Correct.
No, great.
So, okay, with that being said, do I have a motion for the 430 Rochdale Street 24-month extension, which I got, and then you voted, correct?
I second.
You seconded. So do we have a vote of, just to make sure, we have an affirmative?
I approve as stated.
Okay, Ms. Roach,
I approve.
and I approve. Mr. Garabedian, you'll skip this vote for us. So the 430 Rochdale Street 24-month extension is approved, but as the board has stated, we want to be in line with the other boards and say that this is probably the last one, and they can get reviewed after this one. Okay, so the next on the agenda is the 6:15:23 minutes. We have Mr. Tatro, Mr. Marin, Mr. Chicolo, Ms. Roach, Mr. Cussy, and Ms. Bush. So we have 1, 2, 3. Can we do this? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, okay, so, Mr. Marin, do you vote to accept the minutes of 6:15:23 as submitted?
As submitted, as written, Mr. Chairman, I approve.
Mr. Cussy?
I approve.
Ms. Roach?
Approve.
And I approve. 6:15:2023 minutes have been approved. Next meeting, October 19th, 2023. Tune in. We might have something else exciting for you. So with that being said, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Roach?
Aye.
And
Yes.
Mr. Garabedian?
Aye.
Thank you so much. Good luck to everyone, and we will see you in October on the 19th.